So we have at the end of Parsha Shemini the last pasuk. The last three psukim. K'ani Hashem amala eschem eretz Mitzrayim li'es lechem lelekim. I am Hashem who raised you, took you out of Egypt to be a God to you. V'yisim kadoshim ki kodesh ani. You should be holy because I am holy. V'zois teres abahema v'ha'oif v'chol nefesh ha'chayor emeses b'moyim v'lechol nefesh ha'sheretzes al ha'oretz. This is the entire Torah of all the animals, all living mammals. In Parsha Shemini, at great length, the Torah goes through all kosher and not kosher animals. All animals that are toher, all animals that are tamei. That's basically the entire Parsha Shemini. Lahavdil, one must separate ben hatamei or ben hatoher, between what is pure and impure, ubein achaya hanechelas, between the animal which shall be eaten, ubein achaya asher lo yochel, and the animal that shall not be eaten. Parenthetically, we're learning now the laws of Havdalah. There are opinions in the Rishonim that the reason we make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos is from this pasuk. And we spoke about this based on those Rishonim. It's understood why they hold that the women are not obligated in Havdalah, because Shabbos, men and women are equal to everything as Shabbos. But if this is the source of making Havdalah, so why should women be obligated? So that's why they hold the women are not. Okay, let's go to the Rashi here. We're learning now Pshuta Shel Mikra, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's learn the Posh, the Pshat. Let's understand Pshat. What's the pasuk saying? So Rashi says, Lahavdil, Lo belavad asharna, shtei yodei u'makir boki behem. Not only know it from the book, but you should know the animals. Yeah, you should go to the zoo and recognize which is the one animal, which is the other animal. Bein hatomei uvein hator, between the pure and the impure. Tzarich loymar bein chamor lepora. Do you have to know the difference between a chamor, a donkey, and a pora, a cow? V'aloi kvar mufuroshimein. The Torah already specified earlier which behema is toher and which behema is tomei. Ella, the Torah is telling you something else, says Rashi. Bein tameya lecha letohera lecha. What is tamei to you, what is toher to you. What does that mean? Bein nishchet achesir shel kana lenishchet rubai. If half the kana is cut, by the shchita, majority of the kana and the veshet has to be cut. If only half was cut, it's tamei. If majority was cut, then it's toher. Okay, that's what Rashi says. What does that mean? You have to tell me the difference between a tzvi, which is toher, and there's necheles, you're allowed to eat a tzvi, a deer, and a aroid, which you're not allowed to eat. It said earlier in the Torah specifically what you eat and what you can't eat. Ella, the Torah is telling you the difference between shenol de basamon et treifa, ksheira, lenol de basamon et treifa, pesula. There are 70 things which are treifa. Our sages teach us that there are 70 diseases in a cow, in an animal, that if they have that, they contract that disease, the animal is not going to live. They're terminal.
That's it.
What does it? And these things are called treifa. Not allowed to eat it, treifa. Because we know that this cow is not going to live. It's not a healthy cow. It's not going to live. You're not allowed to eat that cow. So there are simonim which show that it's unhealthy, but when you check, you see that it's not one of the 70 that Chazal say, and therefore it's kosher. And then there are other things that you check and you see it is one of the things that our sages say. For example, one of the things we learned it recently in the Rambam. If a cow is frightened from human action, for example, a cow sees that a cow is being killed, so it could go into such shock that it becomes a treifa. It goes into a terrible shock, and it could become a treifa. It's not going to live. It becomes very, very sick. If it becomes terrified from from
Barak,
from natural thunder and lightning, natural causes. So then it'll recover. How do you know that? So you take the lungs and you put it into warm water, and mayim poishim, and you see if the lungs go back to being normal, then that means that it would have lived, and it was only midei shamayim. If the lungs don't straighten up, it was bidei pachad, bidei odom, and it's a treifa. This is one of the 70 treifas. So lahavdal, the Torah says that a person has to study, because you can't tell right away. You have to study the difference between which is simone treifa, which are ksheira, and which are simone treifa that are psula. Okay, this seems a very simple Rashi. So it's, as usual, the Rebbe tries to take apart the Rashi. The truth is, the source of Rashi is a Toras Koyanim, which is almost, Rashi's a few words off here and there. But as usual, Rashi doesn't quote every Toras Koyanim. The Rashi says what he thinks is true in Pshuta Shel Mikra, in Pshat. So there's many obvious questions here. First of all, if we would have thought that the Torah is telling us that you should know the difference between a par and a chamoyer. Why does Rashi pick a par and a chamoyer? There's so many different cows. And why does the Rashi pick tzvi ve'aroid? And why are these four animals so special that they get in? The Torah doesn't mention it. Or even if an asal kedaitach, we would think that that's what the Torah is. But why these four animals? And why the first half of the pasuk is telling me to know the difference between chamoyer and pora, and the second half between tzvi ve'aroid. Why? And then what's the real pshat? The real pshat is that the first half it's telling you should know the difference between if the shechita was kosher or not kosher. Because why? If it was majority of the two simonim were cut, the windpipe and the food pipe, the majority was cut, the animal is not alive anymore. So that's a kosher shechita. But if only half of it was cut, so then it's not. And the second, so that's the pshat in the first half of the pasuk. In the second half of the pasuk, that there is 70 diseases, and you have to know the difference when it's kosher and not kosher. How does Rashi know all this? Who told Rashi all this? Where is it in the words? Where did Rashi find it? True, it's a Mishnah, it's a Toras Kohanim, but again, where is it in pshat? Where did Rashi find it in pshat?
Where does he use the word tomavatah? It's nevela. It's not something that was not geschochten properly. It renders the behemoth a nevela.
Yeah.
Here using the tomavatah, it sounds like something pure or unpure.
I hear.
I don't see. I mean, you're trying to connect it with the pasuk. How does Rashi knows this? I find that the words are somewhat difficult.
Good question. So the Rebbe has a pshat here, and it's very straightforward and very simple, and it answers every detail in Rashi. You see how Rashi takes apart every word in the pasuk, and simple from logic and pshat, how Rashi came up to every detail of his pshat. In general, we have a rule. We say behema b'chlal chayu. For example, if you say that this world is four things: doimem, tzomeach, chai, medaber. So when you say tzomeach, it means everything. Every tzomeach. If you go to a botanical garden, you say tzomeach. Are you crazy? Well, there is thousands of different smachim. If you say you go to a zoo, you'll say, they're all chayas. Wait a minute. There's all kinds of different things. For example, the Torah says in Bereshis, "Vayas Elokim es chayes ha'oretz lamina ves habehema lamina." So sometimes the Torah does specify chaya and behema separately. When you have no choice, if the Torah says only chaya, we'd say it's talking about everything. But sometimes we do specify chaya and behema. Now in this pasuk, in the second half of the pasuk, it says, Lahavdil bein achaya hanechelus uvein achaya shaloi seyachel. So the second half of the pasuk was talking about achaya. So obviously the first half of the pasuk is talking about behema, right? Because if it was talking about the whole pasuk was talking about chaya, it should say first chaya. So when it says lahavdil ben atome ben ator ben achaya, later in the second half it's talking about the chaya. It sounds like the first part of the pasuk is talking about behemoth. So Rashi right away thinks, okay, I understand. The Torah is talking in the first half of the pasuk about behemoth and the second half about chaya. Not rocket science, just that Rashi's trying to figure out with a 5-year-old what's the pshat of the words. Now let's go to the details in Rashi. When you say lahavdil, you have to say, when you say lahavdil, it's always about two things that look similar, and then you have to separate. You don't have to be very clever to know the difference between a snake and an elephant. If you go to the zoo and then there is a whole place, section for monkeys, and then the difference between this monkey and that monkey, that you need a zoologist. You need a chochem to understand the difference because they almost look the same. When I go with my kids, they see them jumping from tree to tree. All of them look the same. But the person who understands knows that there are really 20 different species. So when you say lahavdil, that you should separate, it makes sense when the Torah says to separate it, two things that look almost the same.
Identical.
And they look identical, but they're really different. So you need wisdom, lahavdil.
You get pictures to understand,
right.
To see the difference.
So therefore, in the another axiom here, this is number one. Another axiom is that our sages always say diber hakosov b'hoive. The Torah likes to give examples of ordinary, regular things. For example, it says a person is responsible for his actions. Okay, if a person if a person digs a hole in the ground, a ditch, v'nafel shama shoyrei chamor. So the Gemara says that the shoyrei chamor doesn't only mean shoyr and chamor, it's everything. It's diber hakosov b'hoive. The Torah is talking about because monkeys don't usually walk in the marketplace, they're kept in the zoo. Who walks usually? Elephants, they're kept in the circus.
Sure,
Who is walking around in those days in the marketplace?
In the streets?
Shoyr and chamor.
And sus.
And exactly.
No, I don't think it was sus.
But
In the market?
in the Bavli. Susim was much later. Susim came later to Eretz Yisrael.
Right.
At the time of the Tanakh, horses were only used for warfare.
The truth is, even now, horses are used for riding, not so much to carry packages.
Yeah.
If you go today in Israel and you see Bedouins going around, they don't use horses that much.
No.
They use
A donkey or a mule?
they use camels and they use donkeys.
They
They don't use horses so much because horses you can ride like
Fast, speed.
but the chamor walks slowly. Kasher la'oil v'chamor l'masa. It's because he walks slowly. He walks up the mountain, down the mountain, and he carries his package, and you get there. And he's not so high maintenance. A horse is very high maintenance. It's not easy to raise a horse.
When I was born in Israel, many years ago, instead of cars, there were horses to carry. Horses with carriages.
Right.
To carry things.
You're that old?
We moved. I remember when once we moved from one flat to another with a horse and carriage. Yes.
Which city?
Yafo.
Was in Yaffo? Oh yeah. I had two great aunts that lived in Yaffo.
You're talking about time there was no refrigerator. Used to sell kerach.
I'm talking about 1962, 1963.
There was no refrigerator in your house, right? You used to have
Yes,
a
not in
box
any
of,
house, but there was.
there was a
already.
box of ISIS.
In Brooklyn also, I remember, horses and wagons.
ISIS, what?
But the truth is,
Don't say that.
look, in the time of Tanakh, probably it was more common to use a chamor than a sus. Maybe now it's
And Susis was for wars.
right.
War. And if they were from Mitzrayim, the Susim. They were not raised
Right.
in Eretz Yisrael.
In Mitzrayim, there were experts on sus.
And
right.
Susim.
So. Therefore, the Gemara says, "Dibra kosev b'hoive." It doesn't mean I'm only responsible if I make a ditch and someone else shoyr and chamor falls in. No, I'm responsible if it's anyone, if his child falls in, if his sus falls in, if his sheep, his goat. What's the difference? So therefore, it makes sense that the Torah would talk about something which is motzui, something that's very common, and also something which is very similar. So what are two things that are very common and very similar is a pora and a chamoir. They both are used. They're both like stocky. They're both used for similar house jobs. And for the example, the Mishnah says, "Hamachlif pora v'chamoir v'yolda." So there's a whole Mishnah about a problem. Usually, if we do a transaction, the transaction doesn't happen until I take my merchandise and you take your merchandise. Chachamim wanted that to be that way because they didn't want there should be issues and problems. If you pay and I have your merchandise in my house, and I don't really care that much for your merchandise, so they said that Shema Nisrif L'Chaytecha Ba'aliyah. You know, they said you have to. The transaction is finished by delivery. You get your stuff, I get my stuff. That's the transaction. Okay. But there is a difference. Chalipin is not that way. If we swap, so then when I take the one object, the other one becomes yours. It doesn't matter where in the world it is. So therefore, the Mishnah says, if I have a pora and you have a chamoir, and we switch, so maybe the pora is somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in the agam, somewhere sitting somewhere
in swamps.
Yeah. And this transaction happened, and a few days later we go to the swamp and we look for the pora, we see he has children. So, now it's more valuable. So I say the children belong to me, and Yoni says the children belong to him. The Mishnah says yachloiku. We have to split the kids in half. Okay.
But when was the time of the kingdom, though?
Sunday, and on Thursday we went out to pick up the pora.
So you don't know, maybe it was born before the kingdom or after the kingdom.
Right, exactly. Okay. But what do we see from this Mishnah? We see that it was a common thing that people would swap a pora for a chamor because that was, it was like, it's like today you have a minivan or you have a station wagon. Yeah, this one or that one.
People identify.
There's an event, there's something that's better, a minivan, a station wagon. It's 2 weeks or 10 days. It's like it's almost the same. So that's why Rashi said the same thing. Tzvi and aroid. Tzvi and aroid is, again, tzvi is from animals. We're talking about eating, consuming animals, right? So there are several kosher animals. They're hard to catch. Tzvi is something which is more motzui. Even today, if you go to a very fancy butcher, a kosher butcher, you can find venison. A very fancy kosher restaurant, you can get
because they
tzvi.
They domesticate it. That's
right.
They sell venison?
They sell, yeah.
Yeah. It's very expensive.
But it's expensive, but you can buy it.
It's not more.
And
it doesn't taste that good, I heard.
Even in Israel.
I didn't know that people.
Yeah. And they
what's
sell
a
in
rod?
Israel
A
too.
rod is what kind of animal? A rod?
Aroid is weed. I don't know. I don't know. It's not. It's something. Obviously, here it's something which is similar to tzvi. His build and he runs quickly.
Oh, I see.
It's similar to a tzvi. It's
Arod is like, איך אומרים צבא באנגלית? The animal who is laughing. The disgusting animal who is laughing. It's not kosher.
hyena.
Hyena, yeah.
Okay.
It's a caliph, Shane.
It looks like a
Dog. You look like a dog, yeah.
Look like a duck. Hyena. The vicious animal.
It looks like they're laughing. They're not laughing.
They
Okay.
want to sink their teeth into something.
So these are that's why Rashi says lahavdil. Again, the first half of the pasuk we're talking about behemoth. The second half we're talking about chaya. So he picks two animals that are behemoth, that are very motzui, and that are very similar. And lahavdil means to separate between the two because they're so similar. So you have to separate. But Rashi says that could not be the real pshat. Why? Rashi says va'aloi kvar mefuroshim hein. Because the Torah, the whole parsha Shemini, said specifically what's kosher and what's not kosher, and they give the simonim for what's kosher and simonim. So it can't be. It has to be the Torah is telling me something new, something we didn't hear till now. So therefore, Rashi says, what is it? It's something else. What does Rashi say? It's like this. We say tomei and toher. Usually when we say tomei and toher about an animal,
It's the species.
It's the animal
If it's
is
a chazir,
right. A chazir is tomei, and the cow is toher.
Chooses cut.
But for example, in the cow itself, right, the blood you're not allowed to eat, but you don't call the blood tomei. Chaylev you're not allowed to eat. Gidanosha you're not allowed to. Ever min achai, it's forbidden even for a goy to eat. That's how terrible it is. Ever min achai, but it's not called tomei. It's called ever min achai. The animal it's toher. So Rashi's bothered. What does it mean? Lahavdel ben hatomei ben hatoer. It should be between the kosher and the not kosher, between the isur and the heter. What does it mean, tomei and toer? Therefore, Rashi says ben hatomei loch v'hatoer loch. What does it mean, tomei v'toer here? Not about the animal. Talking about you. Because earlier in the pasuk, just a few psukim earlier, it says, turn back the page to page Ayin Ches.
Yes.
The last two words of the page, pasuk lametes. V'chiyamus min habehema asher hi lochem la'ochla. When a cow that you're allowed to eat dies, hanogeh benivlosa yitma ad ha'orev v'oichel benivlosa yechabes begoda v'tom ad ha'orev v'noisa benivlosa es nivlosa yechabes begoda v'tom ad ha'orev. That if you touch the carcass of an animal that dies, a person is tummy. Now we don't keep today the laws of tumah. Till Mashiach will come, we'll keep the laws of tumah. But now that Rashi says, what does it mean ben atome ben atoher? Doesn't mean the tome animal or toher animal. Ben atome loch v'atoher loch. There's certain animals that we just said previous few psukim that if you touch their carcass, you are tame. Depends. If an animal dies through shchita, if you touch their carcass, you're not tame, you're toher. You don't become tame by going to the butcher shop and picking up a pound of brisket. You become tame by touching the carcass of an animal who died without shchita. So that's what Rashi is saying. When the Tosik says ben hatome, ben hatoher, it's not talking about a tome animal and a toher animal, because that already a mufurashim heim. It's already specified. But ela ben tamei loch la toher loch ben nishchat chetzir shel kana la nishchat rubai. That if majority of the kana v'veshet were cut, so that was a shchita ksheira. It's a kosher shchita. So now the carcass is meat. It's not tummy. If you touch this meat, you don't become tummy. If it wasn't shchita of rubai of the kana and the veshet,
then you're tummy.
So then you're tummy. That's what Rashi is trying to say.
Yeah.
Now Rashi continues. And so again, Rashi says that tzarich loimer ben tzvila aroid like mefarashim. The Torah already said elo. What does it mean, anachelas and ashaloy tiyachel? That really the animal, we're not talking about tumah and tara, because that we already mentioned. So now we're talking about genoil de basimoni treifa kshedel and noil de basimoni treifa psula. We're talking about the 70 simonim of treifa, which is not specific in the Torah. The Torah never says any of the simonim of treifa. The Torah tells you which animal is kosher and which is not. But which the 70 things that make it treif or kosher, it's halacha l'moisha mizina. So the Torah, Rashi says, that's the Torah is being merames, alludes to this thing, lahavdil, that there has to be wisdom to differentiate ben atome v'ator, which again, Rashi, it's tome, tor means tome, loch, tor, loch. When the carcass is tome, or tome means it was a kosher shchita, because nishchat rubei shel kana v'veshet, or not rubei shel kana v'veshet, then you become tome. When could you eat it? If it's a healthy animal. When is it forbidden to eat? If it's not a healthy animal, it's a treifa. And these are the 70 treifas that we learned from Moshe Sinai. The Rebbe points out one more little thing, which is interesting. Harashi's everything is so careful in every word.
But when does apply to behemoths also? Why is this, you're specifying it pertaining to a chayav? It says the second part, the last part of the pasuk, or ben achayu, referring to chayas.
I hear.
So these demonic traces also apply. These things all apply by behemoths too.
That's true.
So how
the first
the
half
pasuk is not consistent in a certain way.
True. The first half, if you shecht,
Nevela is applied by behemoths and by chayas.
Right. I hear. I'm not sure.
Why is
I
he
hear your
making
question. I hear your question. I don't know.
I'm trying to just to get the shot Tovin from the
Yeah. I hear. I don't know. One more diuk here is that Rashi says, Beinishchat. The Rashi says, Beinishchat chetzia shel kona lenishchat ruboy. In order for shechita to be kosher in an animal, there has to be the majority of the kona v'veshet was sliced at once. Otherwise, it's called shehiyah. If you slice a little bit, then it doesn't work.
You made it later.
Right. So why does Rashi say only beinishchat chetzia shel kona lenishchat ruboy shel kona? Why doesn't he say? Right. Yeah. So the answer is like this: the sages teach us that if a little bit of the windpipe is punctured, an animal could live. The kona, if there's a little puncture in the kona, the animal could live. But even the smallest puncture in the veshet, in the food pipe, the animal can't live. It's treif. It's a terminal illness. So therefore, that's where Rashi can't say beinishchat, because if a person sliced a drop of the veshet and stopped, the behemoth right away became treif. So where is there this defined difference between? Because by the kona, if a little bit was punctured, it's fine. It's still kosher. But the whole critical difference is from chetzia shel kona to rubi shel kona. That's what Rashi only talks about kona. But the truth is, for kosher shechita to take place, it has to be both roif, both simon.
You can't cut one without having.
You could.
It's two one next to the other. That when you cut, you can't cut one.
If you don't let's say you go one direction and you didn't go deep
if
enough.
See pictures from a cow or this,
You have to be a big kunz to do one without the other. But
No, it's possible. It's one of the three photos when you put the knife in between the
right,
two.
I say you have to be a kunz. Yeah, you can do from the side.
From the side.
Right, it's possible.
You don't cut from the side, you cut from the center.
But if a person wants, it's possible.
Right, theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, it's possible. There's an interesting thing, just off the topic here. There's a thing from Rabbi Yehuda Chosid that he writes, Lo yotzu tzvi lechupa, ki tzvi tzora yagid.
What's the pasuk?
He says, Lo yotzu, Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, who lived about 800 years ago in Germany.
Catch.
Yeah, he said, don't do a tzeda for a tzvi for a chuppah, ki tzvi tzora yagid.
What's his yagid?
It's trouble. It's nothing but trouble. Have lamb chops, have chicken, have duck for a wedding. Don't have tzvi.
Why?
So everyone asks why. Why? So there's a few pshatim that I said, but I saw one pshat that I thought was nice. The Gemara says in Baba Metzia that Rebbe HaKodesh was sick for many, many years. And his illness started because once he was walking in the marketplace and a calf was running away. They sold the calf for shechita, and the calf ran away and it stuck his head into the jacket of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, go, you were made for shechita. So the calf went. At that time in heaven was decreed against Rabbi Yehuda that he should become terribly ill. He suffered for many, many years. Once he was very wealthy. There was a maid in his house, and there was this Bnei Chulda, this little, and weasel. She was weasel, maybe. Yeah, Bnei Chulda, baby Chuldas.
Oh, I thought you said that's the name of the person.
Bnei Chulda, baby Chuldas. She swept them up. You throw them in the garbage to kill them. So Rebbe said, no. Don't kill them. Don't kill them. They're living creatures. Don't kill them. You know, stories of many tzaddikim that they never ever, we say an expression, never killed a fly, but there are certain, it's brought in the Rishimas that ever brought about the Chabad Rebbeim never killed any animal. Never, ever killed a living thing. Even a mosquito, something that would go like this with their hand to push it away.
That's right.
But never, ever kill a living thing. Never. So they said from heaven that because he was merachem, we will be merachem on him. And that day, all his yisurim left. So the Reb Chaim Palagi. So Reb Chaim Palagi writes that he was that in the time of a Magefa, that people should go out and feed the pigeons. Why? Because when they show extra compassion to living things, just like you see the story of Rebbe HaKodesh, that the person has a... So maybe you could say like this. Some people need the vitamins from meat, so they shech the cow. A tzvi is already, like something over the top, it's like luxury. So a person feels that they need the vitamins, Shabbos and Yom Tov, Avasuda, and Ein Simcha Ela Babos and Simcha Ela B'Yayim, but all of a sudden to go out on a chuppah day to capture a tzvi, that's like, Tzora Yagid, that's trouble. But what are you bothering the tzvi? Let the tzvi alone. Okay. Obviously there must be deeper things to it, but okay.
Well, if the tzvi might wander right into your backyard.
He said lo yotzu tzvi. I don't know if that means if he happens to jump into your cholent pot. You didn't capture him.
So when you say it's trouble for capturing the animal?
Yeah.
Or you have to...
Yeah, to capture him. Lo yotzud tzvi lachupa. You shouldn't go out because for chuppah, one would think he'll go out.
You want to make something special for
Right.
the chuppah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you bring tzvi. So you go and hunt it.
Well, Esav brought tzvi to Yaakov Avinu.
Only relevant
must be
to
good.
Because apparently, in general, let's say if you just want venison, there's no problem with that. Some sort of
True.
about the chuppah.
True. Okay. I figured I'd say something about it. Okay, now the Yena Shal Torah of Rashi. Okay, so then let's just summarize Rashi. Now we understand Rashi very well. We understand what Rashi was, the Hava Amina, what he thought, and then also what's the Maskona, what he thought at the end of Rashi. Okay, I think that Rashi is very clear. Now we understand the Pshat, what Rashi was saying in this last pasuk. The whole parsha is called Parsha Shemini. The first pasuk in Rashi says, Shemini was the day of Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It was a very holy day. Look at the very first Rashi in Shemini. It was a very, very special day, a very holy day. Everything in the whole parsha is connected with Shemini, and according to Kabbalah, Shemini is something very, very special. It's brought in the Tshuvas of the Rashba that Shemini is called Shomer HaHekif because the 7 represents the 7 days of creation. Shemini is higher, a holiness which is higher than creation. There's the Shivas Yimei HaHekif and the Shomer HaHekif. That's the Rashba. Okay. So the question is, if we're talking about Shemini, so what's the connection between Shemini and Lahavdil ben Atomei ben Ator? The truth is that most of Shemini is this theme. The theme of Shemini, of most of the Pasha, is the kosher and non-kosher animal, and finished with Lahavdil ben Atomei ben Ator. What's the connection between the holiness of Shemini? So the Rebbe says the answer is because that's the question is really the answer. Sometimes in life it's very hard in the gray area to separate with something that's good for us and not good for us. It's sometimes you see this is danger. This is not holy. This is not good for me. This is holy. This is good. Okay. Then there's the place in the middle where that's where the Yetzer Hara loves to come in and have all of a sudden we have doubts.
The gray zone.
The gray area.
The gray area. It just like Rabbeinu Yoina says. Rabbeinu Yoina says that a person does tshuva, so they bring a korban chatos. Then there's a korban osham. Osham is 48. He makes a cheshbon that osham is 48 times more expensive. Why? Osham is if he has a suffix. There's a doubt if he did a sin or didn't. Achatas, he knows he did a sin. He violated Shabbos, a kosher. He did a sin. So why is it when he has a doubt, it's 48 times more expensive for the tshuva? So Rabbi Yochanan says basically because that's worse. The Rebbe gives an example for this. A healthy animal never walks into fire. Why? Because it's hot. It knows it's dangerous. It might eat something that not such a smart animal might eat something that'll be damaging. But to walk into fire, a person does a sin. He knows he did a sin. Okay, he does tshuva now. He does tshuva. We're not perfect. We're not angels. That's why there's the whole parsha, the whole book of Vayikra, how to do tshuva. Fine. But when a person has a doubt, did I do the right thing or did I do the wrong thing? A person never feels remorse. Because maybe I didn't do the wrong thing. I did the right thing. Sure. So therefore a person never really has remorse. And not only doesn't have remorse, but it's a deeper problem. It's when I'm in doubt that if I did, what do you mean you're in doubt? Well, how could you not know if you did the right thing or the wrong thing? There's a symptom of a deeper problem. How can you not have clarity if you did right or wrong? So there's a problem here, a deeper problem. If I'm angry, I did the wrong thing. I slapped myself in the face. Okay, so I have an anger problem. Okay, but I know what's right.
You can identify.
And I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
If I have a suffix, it's the same thing here. When there's gray area, the Yetzer Hara loves to play around with our mind. The power of Shemini is a power in the neshama, in the soul, which gives us the power lahavdil ben atome ve'ator. Sometimes it's difficult to Shemini gives us the power to differentiate from Tomei to Tor. There's a story that the Rebbe used to tell. The Rebbe told it more than once at Fabrengen. And even though the Rebbe didn't many times tell stories, but this is an unusual story that the Rebbe told. One of the first Rebbes in the Chassidim, one of the first students of the Maggid, is Reb Nochem of Chernobyl. Today many of the Chassidic dynasties come from Chernobyl. So he was one of the oldest students. He was a big tzaddik. He was very poor, very, very poor. And once there was, no one knew, but the situation at home was terrible, terrible. And Reb Nochem, his mind was different place. He wasn't worried. He was a happy person. But who runs the business, the everyday? Who pays the bills? He wasn't paying the bills. There was someone in the house, a Nemon Beisoy, someone that he trusted. He was running. And this guy's going crazy. They owed the butcher, the baker, candlestick maker, and they're about to burst. You know, it's like you get the shut-off notice from the water thing from Con Edison that you have 60 days and now you have 30 days of Ostupman. There was one night that came a very wealthy chassid, and the chassidim used to bring a pidyon nefesh, a kvittel, and with the kvittel they would have money. And the Rebbe used to take the kvittel and the money, he used to, whenever he had a drawer or a box, he used to put the money inside. At the end of the evening, he would call in the Nemon Beisa, he would open up the drawer and tell him to take the money. The guy would take the money, and Reb Nochem trusted that he did the right thing. So that night, this wealthy chassid told him that when he left, he said that I brought to the Rebbe, whatever, he gave him a large sum. One of them was, say, 200 rubles. Nemon Beisa was finally from heaven. He sat down and he made a list how much he's going to pay back to this to this loan or that loan, and how much he's going to pay back to this and that. And there wasn't enough money to pay back everything, but this loan is knocked out, this loan is knocked out, this 50%. He made a list of the most priority things that have to be paid first and how much. And he was very, very happy. That night, when all the people left, he came into the room with Reb Nochem. Reb Nochem opened the drawer. He said, Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter helped us tonight. And the Nemon Beisa collected the money, and he sees little bills, 7, 8 ruble altogether. And he's like, felt terrible. And Nochem sees, he says, well, what happened? What are you upset about? Look at this. The Eibishter sent us Yidden. They brought me money. What are you upset about? So he couldn't hold himself in. He said, Rebbe, what are you talking about? This guy told me he brought 200 ruble. Where's the 200 ruble? Said Rebbe Nachman, you're right. I had a very big Nisayon tonight. I have to tell you what happened. After this Jew left, and he left me the 200 ruble, another Yid came, and he poured out his heart that he has terrible, terrible situation. So I asked him, how much money do you need to save the day? He said, 200 ruble. I thought to myself right away, wow, a miracle. I just got the 200 ruble. I can help this guy. And then I said to myself, hey, wait a minute. One person, 200 ruble, just to blow 200, you know how many people come and tell me that tzaras? You know how many families I can help with 200 ruble? I could give him 25 rubles, and then he'll go collect other places. This will be seed money. All of a sudden, I was so confused. I didn't know which voice is coming from the Yetzer Toiv and which voice is coming from the Yetzer Hara. Which was the Tomei, which was the Toher voice. I couldn't decide. I asked the Chosa to leave, and I needed a few minutes to think, to have clarity. Finally, it dawned upon me, said Reb Nochem, that what was my first thought that entered my mind? The first thought was to give him the entire 200 ruble. That must have been from the Yetzer Tov. That must have been the pure. What happens? The Yetzer Hara knows if he'll tell me, you have to help some other person, keep the money for yourself. I'm never going to listen. It's not going to work with me. It's not going to work. I'm never going to listen to such a voice.
Such an Yetzer.
Yeah. So he has to come with a thing like this. You can give him a little bit. You give someone else. You can give a lot of people. But if it's true, why wasn't that the first thought that came into my mind? Why was it the first thought that came into my mind was, wow, it's the perfect number. Hashem Yisborach sent me the money for this man to help him. I'm the messenger to help him. This was my first thought, because really that was the real thought. That was the holy thought. That was the Toher thought. That was the thought from the Nefesh Elokis, from the Yetzer Tov. But my Yetzer Hara is very wise, so he knows that he can't tell me not to give charity, to be selfish and to keep it for myself. So he devised a plan but I realized that Baruch Hashem, once I had clarity, I called the man in, I gave him 200 ruble. So he said, you understand, so there's no reason to be upset. Not only...
How does he know that was the right way to go as opposed to the other way?
You see, he knew.
How did he know? I'm confused
because
still.
he lived with a good conscience, because he was happy.
Maybe it's better to help five different people as opposed to help one person.
Now we know that the first thought is the holy thought.
So, sure? A lot of times that's the way it is.
But I didn't understand the safek and the sureness. The safek is even worse than the sureness. Right. I didn't understand how.
Why? Because in the person, when he sins for sure,
he's guilty more.
He knows what's right and he knows what's wrong. He's a healthy person. He knows what's tomei. He knows what's toher. He's not confused. So he's angry at God, and he did the wrong thing, or he's like he's slapping himself in the face. But a person who's confused, that means that there's a problem, that there is a deeper problem here. There's not just the action.
It's not true that this is a sin.
Right. So there's
even worse.
It's a symptom of a deeper problem, that he lost his whole moral compass. He doesn't know where he's standing. So that's why Rabbi Yochanan says that the tshuva for such a person is 48 times more expensive, because the problem is a deeper problem. Similar here, when the person is confused on an issue which is safek, it's a very deep problem. So that's why we say that Shemini, there's the power of Shemini. That's why the whole story starts off with Pasha Shemini. Mm-hmm. Shemini, which is Yom HaShemini, is considered the holiest day, the holiest thing.
Why is
and
that?
The whole Parsha,
what's the significance
as
of
the Rashba says, because 7 signifies nature. 7 days of creation.
Yeah, weeks.
8 is higher than nature. Shomer es hahekev. That's what the Rashba says.
Shows a heck.
Yeah. So that's what this is Yom Shemini.
I see.
So
Shemini Atzeret.
Shemini Atzeres, yeah. Very good.
I never had it.
So what happens is when a person has the power of Shemini, Shemini allows us to differentiate bein hatomei and bein
More
hator.
clarity of mind.
Right. It gives us the clarity because the Yetzer Hara is very wise. It likes to give us suffix. But the power of Shemini is to give us clarity because really what the Yetzer Hara says is like this, a very simple thing. The Yetzer Hara says that everything in this world has holiness to it. So why don't you engage this there's a godly spark in everything. So why don't you engage this thing? Why don't you eat it, for example? He says, it's not so kosher. What do you mean kosher? It's kosher, it's kosher. If you won't eat it, you're never going to elevate the holy spark that it's in this food. But the power of Shemini is where a Jew says, pushes away the Yetzer Hara because he knows that now his connection to Hashem Yisborach is in jeopardy. So Shemini is where a person has the deepest power of the neshama that allows him to have clarity because now he knows that it's his connection to Hashem Yisborach is on the line. So therefore he pushes away. He pushes. Now he finds the clarity to be able to differentiate between Tameh and Tahor. So that's why the whole parsha is all talking about Lahavdil ben Hatomeh ben Hator, and that's connected to the name of the parsha, Shemini. Shemini gives us the power to differentiate ben Hatomeh and Hator.